Welcome to today's Explainer. We are jumping right into one of the most mind-blowing courtroom showdowns you will ever hear about. We're unpacking exactly why a 10-year-old boy decided to sue a $12 billion CEO. Seriously, a 10-year-old taking on a titan of industry. It's a massive story about buried family secrets, stolen legacies, and the sheer power of the truth. So let's just get right into it.
Picture this. You've got a packed, breathless courtroom. Everyone there is expecting a super quick, like 5-minute dismissal. I mean, look at this bizarre mismatch. On one side, the plaintiff is a 10-year-old kid with no parents around. He's literally just holding a small backpack and a teddy bear, and he's got exactly one pro bono lawyer working totally for free. On the flip side, the defendant is Christopher Kane, the legendary owner of Kane Industries. This guy is sitting there with a net worth of over $12 billion, and he is flanked by an absolute fortress of 16 elite attorneys. Kane was actually sitting there smiling. To him, this whole thing was just a complete joke.
But as you can probably guess, that joke ended real quick. The judge, who was probably a bit amused but trying to keep order, looks down at this kid and asks him point blank, "Why are you suing Mr. Kane?" Now, the boy didn't flinch. He didn't look nervous at all. He just pointed right at the billionaire and delivered these 7 words that literally silenced the entire room. "Because he stole my father's life." Just like that, the laughter was gone. The courtroom went dead quiet. This wasn't some confused kid talking. This was the rock-steady accusation of someone who came looking for justice.
So naturally, this leads us to the big question, right? Who on earth is this kid's dad? Well, the mystery only deepens here. The judge leans in and asks the boy for his father's name. And the boy? He just gives this calm, simple smile and says, "I don't know." He actually admits his mom never even told him his father's name. Can you imagine the absolute confusion in that room? The judge is frowning, basically asking what everyone is thinking. If you don't even know who your dad is, how in the world are you going to prove this billionaire stole his life?
Well, that is exactly when the boy proved he didn't need a name. He just needed his backpack. He slowly unzips it, reaches inside, and pulls out this old, worn-out pocket watch, and just gently places it right on the evidence table. Now, I know what you're thinking. A pocket watch doesn't exactly scream smoking gun, but the reaction it got, it was immediate. It was visceral. Christopher Kane, that $12 billion titan who was laughing just a minute ago, completely stopped smiling. His hands actually started shaking. He recognized that watch the second he saw it.
Okay, to understand why a powerful billionaire is suddenly terrified of a rusty old pocket watch, we need to rewind a bit. Jump back 30 years. Long before Kane Industries was this massive global empire, Christopher's family just owned a tiny, struggling machine shop. Now, Christopher had a younger brother, Michael Kane, who was this brilliant inventor, a real dreamer. But 30 years ago, Michael just mysteriously vanished. Poof, gone. The police never solved it, and Christopher eventually just assumed his brother had bailed on him, and the family business. So Christopher built the entire company alone. Or, well, that's what he believed for 3 whole decades. But the actual truth, it was hiding inside that watch the whole time. The boy opens it up, revealing a tiny, yellowed note folded up inside. The judge carefully unfolds it and reads it to the courtroom. It says, "If anything happens to me, Christopher must never know." And boom, it's signed by Michael Kane. Christopher stands up just in total disbelief, demanding to know what this means. And the boy, without blinking, tells him that his mom said his father wrote that note the exact night before he disappeared.
So the tension in the room is basically at a boiling point right now. And then the courtroom doors swing open. An elderly woman, 83 years old, leaning on a cane, slowly makes her way up to the front. Nobody has a clue who she is. She asks to testify and introduces herself as Helen Brooks. Now, if you know anything about courtrooms, a surprise witness like this changes the entire game. It turns out she was Michael Kane's former nurse. Christopher absolutely freezes. Helen looks straight at the billionaire and drops a total bombshell that shatters his entire reality. She tells him, "Your brother didn't leave. He was dying."
This is where we see the absolute monumental sacrifice Michael made. Helen lays it all out for the court. Michael had been diagnosed with a super rare terminal illness. The treatments would have cost millions of dollars, which, remember, was money the struggling family business just did not have. So instead of bankrupting his brother, Michael made a choice. He secretly funneled every single patent, every genius invention, and all his business ideas directly to Christopher's company, all without asking for a single dime. He just wanted his brother's business to survive. He hid everything so Christopher would go on believing he built this empire completely on his own.
But wait, how do a founder's shares just magically disappear? Enter the ultimate corporate betrayal. Federal investigators had uncovered a massive 3-step fraud from 30 years ago, driven by a rogue company executive who, it turns out, had finally confessed.
Basically, while Michael was quietly dying, this executive saw a golden opportunity. Step 1, forge the corporate documents. Step 2, steal Michael's rightful ownership shares for himself. And Step 3, feed Christopher the giant lie that Michael had just abandoned the company. Michael was entirely cheated out of his legacy and died quietly months later, all while Christopher was kept completely in the dark.
Then, the final piece of the puzzle lands right on the judge's desk, a sealed DNA report. It gave conclusive, undeniable genetic proof that this 10-year-old boy sitting right there at the plaintiff's table was the biological son of Michael Caine. The gravity in that room was just unreal. Christopher stares at the paper, then he slowly walks all the way across this massive courtroom. This $12 billion CEO drops to his knees on the floor in front of the kid, eyes full of tears, and just whispers, "I'm your uncle." The boy's only response, he asks, "Did my dad hate you?" And Christopher, just breaking down, replies, "I hope not."
After that, the lawsuit was officially dismissed. But hey, not because the boy lost. It was dismissed because Christopher Caine took immediate, total public responsibility. Instead of fighting some drawn-out legal war with his army of lawyers, he took his entire $12 billion empire and just split it right down the middle. He transferred exactly 50% of Caine Industries into a brand new trust in Michael's name. So in one single afternoon, that little boy with the backpack became the legal heir to his father's stolen and forgotten legacy.
So the legal battle was over, but the final piece of the truth actually didn't come out until weeks later. They discovered this old VHS tape that Michael had recorded shortly before he passed away. The family all gets together to watch it, and right there on the screen, a dying Michael smiles into the camera and leaves this final heartbreaking message for his brother. He says, "If Christopher is watching, I need you to know something. You were always the better brother. I never wanted money. I only wanted you to succeed." Man, it was just this profound moment of closure that left Christopher in absolute tears.
Today, the whole landscape of that company looks totally different. If you walk into any Caine Industries building in the world right now, you are not going to see a statue of the billionaire CEO in the lobby. Nope. Instead, every single building features a bronze statue of Michael Caine. And right below it is a plaque with this incredible inscription: "The man history forgot, but family never should have." And you know what? Every single year, that little boy, who is growing up now, goes back to the main headquarters to visit his dad's statue. And he leaves just one thing at the base: that same old, worn pocket watch.
As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want you to think about this unbelievable story. A boy walked into a room with literally nothing but a backpack and a teddy bear, and he walked out having exposed a multi-billion-dollar lie and completely restored his father's honor. It really shows us that while some people inherit massive wealth, others have to fight tooth and nail to inherit the truth. So I'll leave you with this. If you were in that boy's shoes, and you had to choose between inheriting a massive corporate empire or inheriting the absolute truth about your family, which would you pick? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you next time as we uncover more incredible stories.